Hey there, this is Jason. This year I added over 20 new varieties to my orchard, and it was exclusively through grafting. I did my very best to hold back and not buy any additional trees. I already have enough. So my new varieties came in by grafting onto existing trees. There are two trees in my orchard that I have not grafted onto. Almost all the other trees have at least one additional graft onto them, in addition to the cultivar that it was either sold as or originally planted as. And I want to share with you why there are two trees that I consider to be sacred, ones that I do not want to graft because I think they are absolutely perfect as is. So let's go check those out now. So I have two trees that I want to share with you, and my first one is my Arctic Star nectarine. So much attention is given to cherry blossoms in the late winter, early spring, but very little attention is given to nectarine or peach blossoms. They are just so beautiful. They have a pinkish tint to them. They're a lighter color on the edges, and they're just really nice to look at. I purposely put these two nectarines right at my entrance to my orchard. So every time I walk in, this is the very first tree that greets me. And this is an Arctic Star right here and another nectarine back behind. I'm not talking about that other nectarine. I'm talking about my Arctic Star. This was a pleasant surprise for me last year. One, the fruit ripens pretty early. I like that. I like fruit now rather than fruit later. The foliage is beautiful. It's this light green color, and when contrasted with the flowers, it is just beautiful. Once these flowers set fruit, the fruit itself is a dark red. That Arctic Star nectarine has a red skin and a white flesh, and so the green and the red fruit just contrast each other so beautifully. But I'm not even talking about the taste of the fruit yet. I was so pleasantly surprised by the Arctic Star's flavor. It was the first time I had had an Arctic Star, and I realized then that I really like white-fleshed peaches and nectarines. That's my thing. Not everybody does, but that's my thing. So you may have a different opinion. That's all good. But the fruit, to me, the best way I could summarize it is it tasted like roses, the way roses smell. They were just delicious fruit. So why am I not grafting to this? Why am I not making this a multi-grafted tree like I've done with all of my others? In fact, right next door, my nectarine right next door here, I actually have two new grafts on the bottom, and I plan to cut this down low if those grafts take. So why did I make that a 3-in-1, but I didn't touch my Arctic Star? Well, I want as much of this fruit as possible. And I understand once this gets to its peak production, it'll probably be way too much that I won't be able to eat it, my family won't be able to eat it before it goes rotten. But I want to share this fruit with others. I think the Arctic Star nectarine is just one of the best tasting fruits out there as far as nectarines are concerned. It's at the top of my list. And just in general, it's a beautiful tree. My particular Arctic Star has a really nice shape to it. It's in a 2-in-1 planting, so it's sharing a hole with that other nectarine. It's just got really good scaffolding branches, and I'm already happy with it, and I'm going to have this tree to look forward to for many years. So let's go check out tree number 2. Before I give away my other tree, I want to show you a little project I'm working on here. This is my European pear tree, and when I brought it home, I actually had a few pieces of scion wood waiting in my refrigerator. So this was a multi-grafted tree before I even bought the tree. You know, as soon as I got it in the ground, I went ahead and I added 3 additional varieties. So today it's a 4-in-1. 2 of the grafts have woken up. This is Hood over here, and this is Florida Home, which is the cultivar that was initially on the rootstock when I bought it. And then I have since added Kefir, which is right here. That's the new graft for this year. And then Seckle, which was added last year but just hasn't woken up yet. So I've grafted a lot of my trees, but again, I'm talking about trees that I find to be sacred as far as trees are concerned, that I haven't touched. I haven't added any additional grafts to because I want the full fruiting potential of that tree. And my tree number 2 that I will not touch is my Spice Zee Nectaplum. So I already told you that I love my Arctic Star. I love all the same things that I had already mentioned. I love that about the Spice Zee Nectaplum as well, with the added bonus that this is an ornamental tree. Look at those leaves. That dark red. It also hides the fruit pretty well. Some of my other fruit gets picked off by birds and squirrels and whatever other opportunistic feeders there are out here. But fortunately, the Spice Zee Nectaplum, since the fruit is on the reddish side and the leaves are on the reddish side, I find that they blend in well together, and this does not attract as much attention from birds. I find that's also true of my Emerald Drop, which is a greenish yellow pluot, and it blends in really well with the leaves. But we're not talking about those trees. We're talking about this Spice Zee Nectaplum. We're talking about how beautiful it is. Even if it didn't produce fruit, the tree itself would be beautiful. But again, much like the Arctic Star, the flowers are amazing. There really should be similar festivals for nectarines and peaches as there are for cherries, celebrating those cherry blossoms. Seems kind of silly when all those flowers are just white. I mean, they're pretty too, but look at these. So these are my two favorite trees. I love the fruit, but I also really like the trees themselves. I like how mine are growing. You'll notice here I've got a pretty good shape to my Spice Zee. I'm going with that open center. I've got two lower branches. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them or cut them back at some point. Potentially, those would be good spots to graft, but I don't want to do that. I want as many Spice Zee Nectaplums as possible. These are also fruit that I plan to share. These are both fruit that you are not likely to find in the grocery store, so that checks another box for me. This is fruit that I'm only going to find in my orchard, or I'm only going to find at farmers markets or local places that grow them. You won't really find them at your supermarket, if you ever do at all. They don't ship well, and there's just not a lot of them in farms. You know, they go with the better known varieties rather than trying to convince somebody to buy a Nectaplum, whatever the heck that is, to a new buyer. They just go with something that's more common, that will sell faster. But that's one of the reasons why I'm growing them here, because they're less likely to be sold at a store, and I get to reap all the benefits of having these beautiful trees. So my Spice Zee Nectaplum is right here. It's actually all by itself in its own hole. And then if I pan on over, I'll show you where my Arctic Star is in relation. Right next door in a 2-in-1. I like looking at these two. I like standing in this spot and just going back and forth. These two trees, they flower at the same time. They're such a joy to look at. So if you're in a similar situation, if you're looking for one tree and you want to be done with it, or two trees and you want to be done with it, I would recommend one of these two trees. Definitely plant these up. Spice Zee Nectaplum has a slight lead. It was sort of my first favorite, and then Arctic Star won me over last year, but honestly, can't go wrong with either one. They're both delicious. If you have either of these trees, let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you think that these are sacred trees that you need to get all the fruit possible from? Or do you have others on your list that maybe I might have, or that maybe I should add in the future? Let me know what you think. I'd love to chat with you in the comments section.